What about making your sound better?
What's going on, everybody? This is Yuja here again with WA Production to bring you another sound design tutorial. And in this video, we're going to be going over how to create a G house or deep house style bass pluck in Serum, kind of in the style of what you'd hear from Matroda or something like that. So I have a little loop here that I've created to showcase the sound, and then we're going to play that, and we're going to play the sound by itself so you can hear exactly what we're working with, and then we'll break it down. So let's jump into it. So that's basically the sound right there. Let me solo it out so you can see exactly what we're working with. So as you can hear, there's a few different timbres that we're going to be getting out of this one synthesizer, and it's pretty cool. Just comes mainly from the macro automation. So I'll break that down once we open the synth, but before we do that, let's just get into what's going on a little bit outside of the synth. And here we have a multiband compression preset. This is a preset for the multiband dynamics plugin in Ableton. It's a stock preset. I didn't do anything to it, so you could just search for it and plop it in. And then we have an EQ8 cutting a little bit of the lows out, and then we're also cutting a little bit of the highs, and then we are also boosting about the 1K region, and we have some automation on the 8-band frequency here. When you hear those higher harmonics coming in for the bass pluck, that part, the highs got a little bit too overbearing, so I cut them a little bit just to tame them. And then we have a glue compressor with a soft clip engage and the makeup gain turned up to slam it up into the ceiling. You could achieve a similar effect just by using a saturator with a soft clip engage, bass turned down so it doesn't mess with the sub frequencies, and then turning up the drive. Basically the same effect. It's essentially a limiter or a soft clipper, just a little bit better than a limiter in my opinion when doing this kind of stuff. So I just like the glue compressor. And then on the group we have just a sidechain. So nothing too crazy outside of the synth. Let's open up the synth and see what's going on inside. It's also nothing too crazy really. For oscillator A, we have the BSOD square wavetable. So that's going to be found in the analog folder. It's pretty much most of the default settings here. The unison is turned up a little bit to 2, and we have the detune turned down just a tad. Wavetable position is in its original position. The level is turned all the way up. And then we have FM from B as our warp modulator. And for our sub oscillator, we have it on sine wave. The level is turned up just a little bit past halfway, and we have it on direct out, so the filter and the effects don't affect the sub, and we have a nice clean sub region. So for oscillator B, like we said, for oscillator A, we're using FM. That's why we have the level turned all the way down, even though it's on. But we're just basically using this as a frequency modulation source for oscillator A. We're using oscillator B to modulate the frequency of oscillator A. So that's why it's turned all the way down, but we have the FM on here. And then, but we also have the warp modulator sync on for oscillator B. And I think that's really important. And I think it's really important that it's at 3.78% or 3.8 something percent, around there, just because this sync knob actually affects the tuning when of the bass when the higher harmonics come in. So you can hear right here, that's when the higher harmonics come in. If I turn down the sync, it completely detunes it. So it's important that it stay around 3.79, 3.8%. Okay, so after that, we have a 24 decibel low pass filter on, cut off about halfway, resonance turned about a little bit above, just maybe about 10% or so. Everything else, I think this is default. It's being applied to A and B. It doesn't have to be applied to B. You really only need A because A is the only one outputting any audio. I just have it on just to be safe. I don't know. Basically, after that, we're going to get into the envelopes and the modulation here. So we're not using any of the LFOs. It's all just envelopes right here. And for envelope 1, this is our amp envelope for Serum. So it's always applied to the amplitude. It's not applied to anything else besides that. So you can just copy these ADSR settings down here. And the only thing you can't control with the ADSR is the slope. So it's just sloped a little bit up. And that's it. That's pretty much it for the amplitude envelope. And this is just making it so that when you actually hold down a note, it doesn't like hold down forever. So it eventually like stops. Envelope 2 is what we have modulating our low pass filter, and you can also copy these settings here. The slope, it's a pretty sharp slope. Just copy these ADSR settings, and it's being applied as a one-way modulation source to cutoff. So you could, if you want to make it a two-way, you can hold shift option and click it, and then it'll make it a two-way, where the center of the knob is, or the knob where you have the knob set is the center of the range, and it goes up and above that, above and below that. Sorry, and if you option shift click it again, it's a one-way. So instead of where the knob's set being the center, it's actually the bottom, and wherever you set it after that is the top. So it goes from the top down to wherever you set the knob. So everything is basically, all of my modulator sources in this one are one way. And we can look into our matrix and see that. You could also change it. Instead of the option shift, you could just click here. Just a little quick tip. Anyways, that's it for envelope 2. It's actually only being applied to the filter. And then envelope 3, this is where things, this is the thing that's on the most, modulation. It's modulating the most things, sorry. So we have envelope 3 being applied to the master tuning here as a one-way modulation source again. It's only going up to about 17. And then envelope 3 is going to be on these effects here. But let's break down the effects real quick, and then I'll show you what envelope 3 is modulating with the effects. We have our distortion set to soft clip here, and we have the filter, the distortion filter set to post. So this filter is affecting the distortion or the sound after it distorts rather than before it distorts. And then it's set to low pass down here. The drive is about halfway, mix all the way up. And then we have one little EQ band here. Sorry, this delay isn't being used. I'll turn that off. We have this one EQ band here, though, it's just like a little notch or a bell. And we crank the gain a little bit, and then we have the frequency set to 1126. And then for the compressor, I'm pretty sure this is just the stock compressor with the multiband engaged. Mix all the way up. I'm pretty sure I didn't change any of these settings. And then also this reverb here, the size is about 25%, decay about 35%. Same thing with the low cut, 35. High cut is maybe about 75% or so. Spin is maybe 35, and spin depth is maybe 30%. Mix is also maybe 30% or so, and it's set to Hall. So as far as the effects go, there you have that. And then this envelope is affecting, you go to the distortion, the envelope is affecting the actual frequency of the distortion filter. So it's going one way from top to bottom down to 253 hertz. So that's creating like a little bit of a beefier transient, like a distorted transient. And then it's also creating a little bit more of a transient here because envelope 3 is modulating the frequency of this little notch filter here, or this little band that's boosted. So it actually creates like a little bit more of like a little filter sweep, a quick plucky filter sweep. Like you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it moving there. And this is where kind of the macros come in. This EQ macro, if you click on it, it's applying to the frequency as well. So when we have the EQ turned all the way down, it's actually up here. And if we have the EQ turned all the way up, it's actually down here. But you could hear the difference if I play it. That's a little bit more subdued. And that's a little bit more like, has more of a pluck. And you can have it somewhere in between if you want to kind of create different timbres and stuff. But we have that. And then this FM here is also this modulation, or this macro, sorry, is modulating the FM as well. So we can get more or less FM. So that's when the harmonics come in, is where those higher harmonics come in. That's just modulating or automating the FM to go up. So if you look here, if we go into our automation here, you can see that we have, this is macro 1 and macro 2, and this is the FM, and when you see the FM go all the way up, that's when you get the harmonics. And then this is macro 1, and this is where you get the timbre, like the sorry, macro 2. This is the EQ. This is where you get the timbre from, right here. So you have a little bit. That's the subdued pluck, and this is like the pluckier pluck. Almost sounds a little bit more like organic, like a string is hitting it. But yeah, that's basically it for this sound. I hope you guys learned something. I hope this inspires you to go make your own sounds and whatnot, or even just take this sound and make your own tune with it or something like that. So it's been good. This has been Yuja with WA Production again, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.